I'm Jason, the world is yours, and today we have a story about the United States Supreme Court says Andy Warhol infringed on print photographer's copyright image. The United States Supreme Court ruled in a 7 to 2 decision that Warhol silkscreen Prince portrait using a photograph by Lynn Goldsmith did not fall under fair use. Wow. The federal Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, has ruled that Andy Warhol infringed on photographer's Lynn Goldsmith copyright in his use of a photograph she took of Prince for his own silk screen portrait for the rock god. The court's 7 to 2 ruling in favor of Goldsmith, the photographer, and against the Andy Warhol Foundation confirmed that Warhol's repeated use of Goldsmith photo did not fall under the domain of fair use doctrine and therefore violated copyright law. This is very important. I know people think that this is like just said for Andy Warhol, but this is Supreme Court and we're talking about fair use. Fair use is very important in copyright stuff, right? This copyright case involves not one but two artists. Justice Sotomayor wrote today in the opinion of the court, in the majority opinion. The first, Andy Warhol, is well known. His images of products like Campbell soup cans and celebrities like Marilyn Monroe appear in museums around the world. Andy Warhol's contribution to contemporary art is undeniable. The second, Lynn Goldsmith, is less well known, but she too is a trailblazer. Goldsmith began a career in rock and roll photography when there were few women in the genre. Her award winning concert and portrait images, however, shot to the top. Goldsmith's work appeared in Life, Time, Rolling Stone, and People magazines, not to mention the Natural Portrait Gallery and Museum of Modern Art. She captured some of the 20th century's greatest rock stars. Okay, we don't have to get into that. In 1984, this is where the case begins. Vanity Fair sought to license one of Goldsmith's print portraits for use as an artist reference. The opinion continues. The magazine wanted the photograph to help illustrate a story about the musician. Goldsmith agreed on the condition that the use of her photo be one time only. Okay. The artist Vanity Fair hired was Andy Warhol. Warhol made a silkscreen using Goldsmith photo, and Vanity Fair published the resulting image alongside an article about Prince. The magazine credited Goldsmith for the source of the photo photograph and paid her only $400. Warhol, however, did not stop there. From Goldsmith photographer, he derived 15 additional works. Later, the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts AWF licensed one of those works to Condé Nast, again for the purpose of illustrating a magazine story about Prince. AWF came away with $10,000. Goldsmith received nothing. Okay, so maybe this is a little bit less confusing than I thought it was. When Goldsmith informed AWF that she believed it was the use of her photograph infringed her copyright, AFW sued her. The district court granted summary judgment for AWF on its assertion of fair use, but the Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit reversed it. In this court, the sole question presented is whether the first fair use factor, the purpose and character of the use, including whether such use is of a commercial nature or is for non-profit educational purposes, weighs in favor of AWF's recent commercial licensing to Condé Nast. On that narrow issue and limited to the challenge use, the court agrees with the Second Circuit. The first factor favors Goldsmith, not AWF. Justice Elena Kagan gave the dissenting opinion, which I would agree with, in which the Chief Justice also concurred. So the Chief Justice and Associate Justice Chief Justice John Roberts, and the Associate Justice Elena Kagan, they were the two dissent. It was a 7-2 vote. You've probably heard of Andy Warhol. You've probably seen his art she wrote. You know that he reframed and re- reformulated, in a word, transformed images created by others, right? Campbell's soup cans and Brillo boxes, photos of celebrity icons, as well as most relevant here prints. That's how Warhol earned his conspicuous place in every college arts history 101. So it may come as a surprise to see the majority describe, yeah, the print silkscreen as a modest alteration of Lynn Goldsmith photograph, the result of some cropping and flattening with the same essential nature, or more generally, to observe the majority lack of appreciation for the way his works differ in both aesthetics and message from the original templates. Oh my goodness, wow. In a recent decision, this court used Warhol painting as a perfect exemplar of a copy and use that adds something new and important of of a use that is transform transformative, 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 and thus points towards a finding of fair use. She added, the court would have told this one to go back to school. Ugh. Okay, that's interesting. Let me see. Okay, that's the article. I mean, I'm not a Supreme Court follower, so I have no idea what's going on here. I would say this, as a fan of art, as a fan of museums, I've seen many, many works of Andy Warhol in in museums. A huge fan of Andy Warhol's art, and I would think that the photograph that Andy Warhol used as a reference, right, just as a reference, to me wasn't like a direct copy. Like the 15 images, the silk screen, it doesn't seem like, if you look at Andy Warhol's work, you could clearly look at it and say, hey, that's a clear copy, a one-to-one copy of Goldsmith work. And I don't think it's because Goldsmith was less famous or anything like that. It's the image that Warhol used is of Prince's face, right? Like, yes, I get it. He was connected to the Condé Nast work, but what he did there had nothing to do with his own art, right? Like, I think his artwork was way more transformative, not transformative, transformative than the court is giving the credit to, right? I would love to hear the argument, because in this article we kind of only get the dissent from Elena Kagan, which you have to love. She says, let me see, which is, to me, like this paragraph right here is really, really, really interesting. Let me see. Just this last paragraph, right? You've probably heard of Andy Warhol. You've probably seen his art she wrote. You know that he reframed and reformulated, right? In a word, transformed images first created by others, kinda in a sense. Campbell soup cans and Brillo boxes, photos of celebrity icons, and most relevant hairprints. That's how Warhol earned his conspicuous place in every college art history 101. So it may come as a surprise to see the majority describe the Prince silkscreen as a modest alteration of Lynn Goldsmith photograph. The rest of some cropping, flattening with some essential nature, or more generally, to observe the majority's lack of appreciation for the way his works differ in both aesthetics and message from the original templates. That's what I totally agree. Is that like if you have transformative, right, art, how is it not fair use, right? Like how can you look at that photo and say that it's a direct one-to-one copy, that there's no difference in Andy Warhol's work and Lynn Goldsmith? I think it's a lot of difference, and especially because it's of Prince's face. I don't know if they can't show the image here, but it would have been so much easier if the image was shown here. You can compare it instead of, for some reason, they have Andy Warhol's face up here. It would have been so much easier to just show like Andy Warhol's art and then the photo of Lynn Goldsmith took, and then we could have just compared it then and just said, yeah, it seems pretty close to fair use what Andy Warhol did. And my thing as far as fair use, why we should pay attention to it today is because fair use is all over the internet, right? If you think about it, all these content creators, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, everybody's using everybody's images, everybody, So my question is how, what if the NBA goes to content creators on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter and YouTube and say, fair use, you are not allowed to use this, right? Like, how can you put up highlight videos? How can you put up WWE? Like, what would be fair use in under this term? And the reason why I say that is like, okay, Twitter may not be commercial, but YouTube is commercial. Content creators. Instagram is commercial content creators, right? Is it fair use for us to just be putting up all of these videos that we did not create? So that would be my question for the Supreme Court. How far are we going to go with fair use, right? Like, some people, when they put up highlight videos, they do green screens and talk over the video. That seems like fair use, right? But I don't know. Maybe the Supreme Court say it won't be, and that the NBA would be able to sue for you using their images. But let me know your opinion of this story. And do you understand anything about the Supreme Court? I would say I dissent in this case, right? I would not agree with the majority. Here I would agree with the minority. I would agree that what Andy Warhol did was transformative. Transformative, that is such a difficult word for transformative. And I'm Jason. The world is yours. Today we had a story about the United States Supreme Court says Andy Warhol did infringe on Prince photographer's Lynn Goldsmith copyright image. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the $1 donation button. And please tune in to the next video on this channel. Thanks a million for watching.